Hi, this is Math 18 and we're doing the practice test for test 2 today. So let's get started. Number 1, evaluate the variable expression when a equals 5 and c equals -6. So what you're doing here is you're plugging in those numbers for those variables. So we're going to have 5 minus, and it's 4 times c, so 4 times -6. Okay? Now you follow your order of operations to simplify the expression. So bring down the 5 and we're going to multiply. Take the sign with the 4. It's a lot easier. -4 times -6 is a positive 24. And then you just add and you get 29. Number 2. Evaluate the variable expression when a equals 3, b equals 4, and c equals -2. So make sure that you put these numbers in parentheses. So we have b squared, that's going to be 4 squared, minus 3 times a, so a is 3, times c, and c is -2. Okay? So the order of operations tells us to start with the exponent. 4 squared, 4 times 4 is 16. Now, the second part, this multiplication, this is where a lot of people make mistakes because of the signs. So bring down the 16. We're going to just go straight through. Take that sign with the 3. -3 times a positive 3 is a -9. And you still have -2 there. So when you say -9, write that minus sign. Now you have one more multiplication, so still bring down the 16, and a -9 times a -2 is a positive 18. Okay? And then you just add 16 plus 18 gives you 34. And that would be it. Okay? So the best way to use this practice test, this is one of the versions that we typed out of the WebAssign program, and there is also an online practice test that you can get extra credit for if you work your way through that. Check your email and announcements for that. But this is just good to go over and over. This is just like the test. So make sure you practice on these problems. Okay, number 3, all of the problems on this page, they want us to simplify. So 6x plus 2x, those are like terms. You just add them up and get 8x. Okay? Number 4, 5y minus 11y. So remember your sign rules. You've got a positive and a negative. And so even though it's not addition, it goes back to the addition rules. The signs are different, so we subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So that would be -6y. Okay? Number 5, we're going to multiply -18a times -7 over 9. So the first thing I want to do is put that over 1, okay, because I'm going to multiply fractions there. So a negative times a negative, I know that's going to be a positive answer, so I don't have to worry about my signs at all. Now what I would probably do is notice 9 and 18 have a common factor of 9. So if I divide by 9, that leaves 1, and 18 divided by 9 leaves 2. Just be careful, don't forget that a, I almost crossed through it. So you have 2 times 7 is 14, don't forget the a, and the denominators were just 1, so you don't even have to worry about that. So just 14a. Now, number 6, we're going to start using your distributive property, okay? So we're going to multiply 9 times 4x, and then that's a positive 9, so you put a plus sign, times a -4. So that's the two terms that we're multiplying there. So that would be 36x, and 9 times -4 would be a -36. So you just write that sign. Those are not like terms because the second 36 doesn't have an x. So that's your final answer. Alright, so here's some longer problems or expressions to simplify with the distributive property. So 26x minus 5 times 6x plus 8. We're going to start with the -5 there. So I'm going to bring down 26x. I'm not messing with that yet. But I'm going to distribute -5. So that's going to be -5 times 6x and then -5 times 8. Okay? So we bring down 26x comes down. -5 times 6 is -30x. and negative 5 times 8 is negative 40. So make sure, if you're still having problems with your sign rules, get out those 3x5 cards that I recommended you make back in chapter 1 and, go back and brush up and keep track of those sign rules. Now, if you look here, we've got two like terms with x's. 26x minus 30x. So you have to subtract there and keep the sign of the larger number, would be negative 4x minus 40. That just comes down. And those are not like terms, so that's your answer. Now, number 8, we're going to have to distribute 2 times. We're going to start with the 12 and distribute that, and then we're going to take the 2 and distribute that. So we have 12 times y, and that's a positive 12. So you write plus 12 times a negative 2, and then you go to the next set of parentheses, and that's a positive 2 times 8, and a positive 2 times negative 2y. Okay, so that's all the distributing. Now we're going to actually multiply. 12 times y is 12y. 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. And then the next term, 2 times 8 is a positive 16. And 2 times negative 2y would be negative 4y. So notice when I say positive, I write the plus sign as I'm saying it. When I say negative, I write the minus sign as I'm saying it, so I can keep my signs straight. Now, we've got a y term here and a y term there, and two constants, the 24 and 16, negative 24. So 12y minus 4y is 8y. And negative 24 plus 16, you have to subtract there and keep the sign of the larger number, would be negative 8. And that's it, 8y minus 8. Okay? Okay, 9, 10, and 11, we want to translate these verbal expressions into variable expressions. Okay? So it says z less than 9. Now, less than, that's our operation there. And remember, we talked about this. Whatever's in front of those two words less than, that goes at the end, and you subtract it. Z less than 9. So you have to take the 9 away. The z away, sorry. So it's 9 minus z. Okay, number 10. 5 times the difference between c and 9. So we've got times and difference. So look at those first 4 words. 5 times the difference. So you have 5 and then parentheses, because you're multiplying by the whole difference. So you have to keep those parentheses in there to show that the difference is in that whole thing together. Okay, and remember, difference is subtraction between c and 9. So without the parentheses, that's wrong. So be really careful there. All right, number 11. S decreased by the quotient of s and 17. Okay, so let's see. We have decreased by, and we have quotient. Okay, so s decreased by, you just do s and minus. Okay, now we're decreasing it by a quotient. Remember, quotient is division, and we want the quotient of s and 17. So the and is where the division sign goes. So s goes on top and the 17 goes on the bottom. Okay, so that's your expression, s minus s over 17. Okay, number 12. Now we're starting to get into some of the equation type part of the test. First, we want to know, is negative 3 a solution of 3a minus 2 equals negative 11? So here's what this is where you take the negative 3 and you plug it into the variable, into the equation. So we have 3 times negative 3 minus 2 equals negative 11. Well, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9 minus 2 equals negative 11. Now look at the signs. Negative 9 and negative 2, they're both negative. The rule is add and keep the sign. So that's negative 11 equals negative 11. So your answer is yes. If you'd gotten two different numbers at the bottom, your answer would be no. Okay? All right, 13, pretty much for the rest of the test, most of the rest of the test is just equations to solve. So look at 13. Here's the n. We have negative 6 equals n plus 1. We want to get the n by itself. So I need to subtract 1 from both sides. So that's negative 7, that's what we get on the left, equals n, and the 1's canceled. So that's it. Number 14, x plus 2 equals 7. So to get the x by itself, we need to get rid of the 2. So subtract 2 from both sides of the equal sign, and x equals 5. Okay? All right, 15, b minus 2 equals 11. So we need to get the b by itself, which means we need to get rid of that negative 2. So add 2 to both sides. Always do the opposite operation. So b comes down, the 2's are gone, and it equals 13. Okay? And you can check all of these by plugging your answer back into the variable. All right, 16 now. Look at the operation. It's changed. 8 times x equals negative 16. So since that's multiplication, remember you have to divide. Use division. So the 8's cancel when you divide by 8, and x equals negative 2. Okay? Number 17, negative 5x equals 15. So once again, it's multiplication. So I have to use division. Divide by negative 5 on both sides. So the negative 5's cancel, and x equals negative 3. Okay? 18, this is one of those shortcuts. We have x over 3 equals 4. So all you have to do there is multiply those two numbers. X equals 12. That's it. Okay? All right, number 19. We have a fraction there. Negative 6z over 8 equals 21. So we want to get rid of that fraction, negative 6 over 8. So I'm going to use the reciprocal, negative 8 over 6, and negative 6z over 8. Okay? And make sure you do it on both sides. Negative 8 over 6, and you can put 21 over 1. Okay? Now, on the left-hand side, a negative times a negative is a positive, so that's good. When you cancel, the 6's cancel to 1's, so do the 8's. So we're just left with z, which is what we want. Now, on the right-hand side, we have a negative times a positive. So that's a negative. Go ahead and put your sign there. 6 and 21 have a common factor of 3. So be careful when you cancel, if you decide to cancel. So if you divide by 3, that leaves 2 on the 6. 21 divided by 3 leaves 7. So we end up with negative 8 times 7 would be negative 56. And on the bottom, 2 times 1 is 2. And they didn't say to do anything special with your answer, so just leave it just like that. Okay? All right, number 20. Now, look at where your variable is. 4x is your variable term. There's no other variable on the other side or anything like that, so we're going to work at getting 4x by itself. So the first step is to add 5 to both sides. Okay? So 4x comes down, the 5's are gone, and negative 13 plus 5 would be negative 8. And then divide by 4, and x equals negative 2. And that's it for that one. All right, number 21. 9x plus 1 equals 10. So first get that 9x by itself, okay? And we're going to do that by subtracting 1 from both sides. So 9x comes down, the 1's cancel, and it equals 9, okay? Now divide by 9 on both sides. So the 9's cancel, and x equals 1, okay? Now look at 22. You've got variables on both sides of the equal sign. 15x minus 4 equals 4x minus 15. So my first step is to get rid of that 4x. I want to subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. So that's going to give me 11x minus 4 equals, the 4x's are gone, negative 15. Okay? Now, because we just moved our variables to the left, now I move the constant, the negative 4, that has to go to the right. So add 4 to both sides. So I have 11x, that comes down, the 4's cancel, equals negative 11, because negative 15 plus 4 gives you negative 11. Now, let me go up here where I have a little bit more room. So I have 11x equals negative 11. And the last step is to divide by 11. The 11's cancel, and x equals a negative 1. Okay? All right, 23. So again, we have variables on both sides here. 9 plus 7x equals 17 plus 9x. So my first step is I want to get my variables on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides. So the 9 comes down. 7x minus 9x is negative 2x, because you subtract there, equals 17, and the 9x's are gone. Okay? Now, look at where your variable term is. That's the negative 2x. We're not messing with that. We need to get rid of that constant. We need to get rid of the 9. So subtract 9 from both sides. The 9's cancel, and negative 2x comes down, equals 8, right? When you subtract 17 minus 9. And then the last step, divide by negative 2. Cancel those negative 2's. So x equals negative 4. All right. Number 24 is a proportion. So on this problem, remember you want to, since we have that n minus 8 up there, keep that in parentheses, and you want to cross multiply. So we're going to have 3 times n minus 8 equals 2 times 6. Okay? So we're going to start by distributing that 3. So that's going to be 3n, 3 times n, and 3 times negative 8 would be negative 24, equals 2 times 6 would be 12. Okay, so that's the equation that we're going to look at solving. Now, don't mess with the 3n. Get rid of that negative 24. So add 24 to both sides, and the 3n comes down. The 24's have canceled, and that equals 36. And now divide by 3 on both sides. So n equals 12. That's a nice problem. I like that. All right, 25. This should be the last one. So there's only one word problem on the whole test. You can relax, okay? A life insurance policy costs $12.89 for every $1,000 of insurance. At this rate, what is the cost of $70,000 of insurance? Okay, so let's do the cost and for over the insurance. Okay, that's basically what you're looking at there. So it costs $12.89 for every $1,000 of insurance. Okay, there's those 3 words, at this rate. Okay, we want to know what is the cost, so that's going to be X for $70,000 of insurance. Okay, all right, good thing I kept my calculator out. So now we're going to cross multiply. We have 1,000x equals whatever the heck that is. Let's see, 1289 times 70,000, right? 1289 times 70,000 gives you, does that come out? 902,300. That sounds weird. Okay, so we have 1,000x equals that, right? And now divide by 1,000 on both sides. And those cancel. And let's see, it should be no big deal here. You get $902.30. And so that is the cost of that much insurance. Okay? And that should be it for practice test 2. So good luck on the test.